On Sunday, September 5, 1982, in the suburb of West Des Moines, Johnny Gosch left home before dawn to begin his paper route. Although it was customary for Johnny to awaken his father to help with the route, the boy took only the family's miniature dachshund, Gretchen, with him that morning. Other paper carriers for the Des Moines Register would later report having seen Gosch at the paper drop, picking up his newspapers. It was the last sighting of Gosch that can be corroborated by multiple witnesses. Another paperboy named Mike reported that he observed Gosch talking to a stocky man in a blue two-tone car near the paper drop. Another witness, John Rossi, saw the man in the blue car talking to Gosch and thought something was strange. Gosch told Rossi that the man was asking for directions and asked Rossi to help. Rossi looked at the license plate, but could not recall the plate number. He said, "I keep hoping I'll wake up in the middle of the night and see that number on the license plate as distinctly as night and day, but that hasn't happened." Rossi underwent hypnosis and told police some of the numbers and that the plate was from Warren County, Iowa. As Johnny walked a block north, where his route started, a paperboy noticed another man following Gosch. A neighbor heard a door slam and saw a silver Ford Fairmont speed away northwards from where Johnny's wagon was found. John and Noreen Gosch, Johnny's parents, began receiving phone calls from customers along their son's route, complaining of undelivered papers. John performed a cursory search of the neighborhood around 6 a.m. He immediately found Johnny's wagon full of newspapers 2 blocks from their home. The Gosches immediately contacted the West Des Moines Police Department and reported Johnny's disappearance. Noreen, in her public statements in her book Why Johnny Can't Come Home, has been critical of what she perceives as a slow reaction time from authorities, and of the policy at the time that Gosch could not be classified as a missing person until 72 hours had passed. By her estimation, the police did not arrive to take her report for a full 45 minutes. Initially, the police came to believe that Gosch was a runaway, but later they changed their statement and suggested that Gosch was kidnapped, but they were unable to establish a viable motive. They turned up little evidence and arrested no suspects in connection with the case. A few months after his September 1982 disappearance, Noreen Gosch has said her son was spotted in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when a boy yelled to a woman for help before being dragged off by 2 men. Over the years, several private investigators have assisted the Gosches with the search for their son. In 1984, Gosch's photograph appeared alongside that of another Des Moines Register paperboy, Eugene Martin, who had gone missing that year. On milk cartons produced by the Des Moines-based Anderson Erickson Dairy, Gosch was among the first missing children who had their plights publicized in this way. On August 12, 1984, Eugene Martin, another Des Moines area paperboy, disappeared under similar circumstances. He went missing while delivering newspapers on the south side of Des Moines. On March 29, 1986, the day before Easter, then 13-year-old Mark James Warren Allen told his mother he was going to walk to a friend's house down the street. He never arrived at the friend's house and has not been seen since. Media reports initially described Allen as the 3rd Iowa paperboy to go missing in the 1980s, but a detailed piece about Iowa's missing people that appeared in the Des Moines Register on August 18, 2013, claimed that he was not a paperboy in Des Moines. However, Mark Allen's brother would later confirm that he was indeed a paperboy, but not on a route at the time of his disappearance. Authorities were unable to prove a connection between the 3 cases, yet Noreen Gosch says that she was personally informed of the abduction of Eugene Martin a few months in advance by a private investigator who was searching for her son. She was told the kidnapping would take place the 2nd weekend in August 1984 and it would be a paperboy from the south side of Des Moines. In 1985, Noreen Gosch received a letter from Robert Herman Meyer II, 19, of Saginaw, Michigan. The letter had been signed Samuel Forbes Dakota. In the letter, Meyer stated that he was a guard in a motorcycle club when Gosch's son disappeared in September 1982. According to Meyer, Gosch's son was taken as part of a large child slavery ring operated by the club. According to the FBI, Meyer requested from and received $11,000 from the Gosches. Meyer additionally requested $100,000 more along with a promise to return their son. Meyer was arrested in Buffalo at the Canadian border by FBI agents and was later charged with fraud by wire. The letter Meyer wrote had stated that Gosch's son was sold to a man whom Meyer identified as a high-level substance dealer residing in Mexico City. Despite the accusation of fraud, Noreen Gosch reportedly believed Meyer at his word and later criticized the FBI, stating that the arrest warrant against Meyer destroyed her and her husband John's credibility with anyone who would take the couple's offer to pay ransom for their boy. According to Noreen Gosch, one morning in March 1997 she was awakened around 2:30 a.m. by a knock at her apartment door. Waiting outside was Johnny Gosch, now 27, accompanied by an unidentified man. Gosch said she immediately recognized her son, who opened his shirt to reveal a birthmark on his chest. "We talked about an hour or an hour and a half. He was with another man, but I have no idea who the person was. Johnny would look over to the other person for approval to speak," says Gosch. He didn't say where he is living or where he was going. In a 2005 interview, Gosch said, "The night that he came here, he was wearing jeans and a shirt and had a coat on because it was March. It was cold and his hair was long. It was shoulder length and it was straight and dyed black. After the visit, she had the FBI create a picture she says looked like Johnny. Gosch self-published a book in 2000 titled Why Johnny Can't Come Home. The book presents her understanding of what her son went through, based on the original research of various private investigators in her son's visit. On September 1, 2006, Gosch reported that she found photographs left at her front door, some of which she posted on her website. One color photo shows 3 boys bound and gagged. She says that a black and white photo appears to show 12-year-old Johnny Gosch with his mouth gagged, his hands and feet tied, and an apparent human brand on his shoulder. A third photo shows a man, possibly unalive, who may have something tied around his neck. Noreen Gosch stated that the man was one of the perpetrators who was inappropriate with her son. Gosch later said the first 2 photos had originated on a website featuring child-inappropriate photos. On September 13th, an anonymous letter was mailed to Des Moines police. Gentlemen, someone has played a reprehensible joke on a grieving mother. The photo in question is not one of her son but of 3 boys in Tampa, Florida about 1979-80, challenging each other to an escape contest. There was an investigation concerning that picture, made by the Hillsborough County FL Sheriff's Office. No charges were filed, and no wrongdoing was established. The lead detective on the case was named Zalva. This allegation should be easy enough to check out. Nelson Zalva, who worked for the Hillsborough County, Florida Sheriff's Office in the 1970s, said the details of the letter were true and adds that he also investigated the black and white in 1978 or 1979, before Gosch's disappearance. I interviewed the kids, and they said there was no coercion or touching. I could never prove a crime, Zalva says. When asked for proof that this was indeed the same photo from the investigation nearly 3 decades prior, Zalva could not provide any. According to the documentary film Who Took Johnny 2014, only 3 boys in the pictures were identified by law enforcement, but not the one thought to be Johnny. Noreen Gosch still believes the pictures to be of her son. In 1989, 21-year-old Pole Bonacci told his attorney John DeCamp that he had been abducted into an inappropriate ring with Gosch as a teenager and was forced to participate in Gosch's kidnapping. John DeCamp met with Bonacci and believed he was telling the truth. Noreen later met him and said he told her things he could know only from talking with her son. He said that Johnny had a birthmark on his chest, a scar on his tongue and a burn scar on his lower leg. Although a description of the birthmark had been widely circulated, information about the scars had not been made public. Bonacci also described a stammer that Johnny had when he was upset. The FBI and local police do not believe that Bonacci is a credible witness in the case and have not interviewed him. His siblings told police Bonacci was at home when Gosch was abducted. In 2023, Bonacci claimed to know about Johnny Gosch's 1997 visit to his mother, and also stated that Gosch had visited him several times. In her 2024 updated edition of Why Johnny Can't Come Home, Noreen states that she believes child-inappropriate picture takers Philip Paske and John David Norman were responsible for her son's kidnapping. The case generated national interest as Noreen Gosch became increasingly vocal about the inadequacy of law enforcement's investigation of missing children cases. She established the Johnny Gosch Foundation in 1982, through which she visited schools and spoke at seminars about the modus operandi of inappropriate predators. She lobbied for the Johnny Gosch Bill, state legislation which would mandate an immediate police response to reports of missing children. The bill became law in Iowa in 1984, and similar or identical laws were later passed in Missouri and 7 other states. In August 1984, Noreen Gosch testified in Senate hearings on organized crime, speaking about organized inappropriate rings and its presumed role in her son's abduction. According to her, she began receiving death threats. Gosch also testified before the U.S. Department of Justice, which provided $10 million to establish the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Gosch was invited to the White House by President Ronald Reagan for the dedication ceremony. As of 2024, there have been no arrests made and the case is now considered cold, but remains open.